agenda is capital improvement program.
Thank you.
Okay, so this item is to get the Planning Commission to determine whether the capital improvement program that the city is currently in the process of drafting and in the process of approving in June, whether that CIP conforms with our general plan. We are required to do this by the California state law, and the rationale behind it is to ensure that no public projects which are some individual pet projects get into the CIP and get funded by public funds. So the idea is to make sure that we are using our public money to fund projects which fulfill and implement the general plan. So that's the reason for doing this exercise. We are not that Bell town, city of Bell in Southern California. Okay, so since the 1980s, the City Council has used the 5-year CIP program to implement the goals and the visions of the general plan. And the most recent CIP budget was approved in December 06 for the fiscal years 05-06 through 2010 to 2011. This past CIP included 94 projects, totaling about $380 million, of which 69% was funded through the city's redevelopment agency. Some of the main projects that were completed in the last CIP include the 2 parks, the Doyle Hollis Park, the Joseph Emery Park, the police station remodel, renovations to the recreation center, installation of traffic calming measures in the Triangle neighborhood, and other street improvements, and the installation of breakwater and riprap in the marina. So in the draft CIP for 2014-15 through 2018 and 19, the projects were analyzed for prioritization by the following considerations. One was continuation of existing projects, options for outside funding given the demise of the agency, responding to emergency type of situations or for critical needs. A total of $95 million are being proposed and funded in this cycle compared to $209 in the last cycle. This is directly due to the demise of the agency. So the projects that are included under this $95 million are divided by the following categories: community facilities and maintenance, housing, information technology, marina, pedestrian and bicycle improvements, public art, sewer, streetscape system, and transportation and vehicle replacement. This chart kind of shows you how the CIP is going to be funded by source. So that gives you a rough idea of where the money is coming from. The major chunk of it is from the general fund, and then there are a few other fees that we collect, like public art, and then of course there is the grants. This is a chart showing how within the categories that I just mentioned, how that is divided up and which big projects are essentially taking up the money, the $390 million. So as you can see, community facilities and ECCL are kind of the big chunk, and of course, the South Bayfront Bridge in the park. So I am not, so the first category of CIP is the facilities and facilities maintenance. What I've listed here is a short list. The staff report has the entire list. The staff report also has the table, which kind of breaks it down further if you're interested in the various details of it. But our mission here, or our goal here, is to make sure that all the projects that have been identified do conform with or are consistent with the goals and policies in the general plan. So for example, in this category, some of the goals of the general plan are taken from the category of adequate public facilities, and so on and so forth.
Maru, just before you move on with that, because this is a short list, the items that are on the long list still do, I just want to make this as a public, do still qualify for the consistency with the general plan. Okay, just want to make sure that was clear.
That's the way the staff report is written, otherwise I'll have a lot of,
Yeah, that's
the only reason why it's shortened up here. That's the only, Again, with the housing, these are the various projects which have been listed, and they do fulfill our housing element objectives. For providing affordable housing, mainly the ones that have been that you see on top. Then you have the IT. These are some of the projects that have been identified, and they are consistent with the public services and facilities goal of the general plan. We have the pedestrian and bicycle improvements. Most of these projects under this category have been taken from our from our pedestrian bicycle plan, which is a part of the general plan, and those are the various individual policies and goals. Then we have projects under public art, and they are consistent with the general plan's urban design goals and policies. We have the sewer program, and that is consistent with the general plan's public services and facilities goal. Then we have the transportation, and these are consistent with the general plan's urban design goals. And actually, this is the transportation. I'm sorry, I labeled that wrong. It should be streetscape, not transportation there. And then we have the transportation, and these include a couple of traffic signals, maintenance work on some of the bridges that we have. And this, again, is consistent with the transportation goal identified in the general plan. So that pretty much concludes my presentation, and we are recommending that the Planning Commission find the proposed CIP to be consistent with the general plan's goals and policies, as well as all the applicable elements of the general plan. If there are any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Hero.
Oh, thank you. I've placed a sheet on your dais. This adds 3 new projects to the CIP project list, which are not in the staff report. The Public Works Director has included this, so this will be. And therefore, the memo kind of illustrates how these 3 projects conform with the general plan.
And are these 3 projects funded as part of the 95?
These 3 are, yes.
So we would ask that should you choose to pass the resolution finding the CIP consistent with the general plan, that you incorporate these projects into that resolution. And we will then make the appropriate modifications to the resolution, afterwards.
Has the program to quiet the railroad
I'm sorry.
whistle noise been dropped?
I thought I saw that.
It's in here.
It's in there. It's under.
It's unfunded, though.
It's unfunded.
Yes, yes.
Still there, but it's unfunded.
Oh, okay.
I think it was always unfunded.
Yeah.
It's on page
Quiet
88.
zones, 888.
It's somewhere on there.
Page 8 of 8 in the middle there.
Or on the 8.5 by 11, it's on transportation, number 72.
There it is. It's only $5 million.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really surprised. Everything that's in the bullet pointed that's above the line that says the unfunded project, but everything above that is all funded. within this 95 million, and we can go ahead with those within this period of time that the CIP?
That's what it says.
Well,
pretty
this,
amazing.
I mean, this
a lot of work.
chart shows you which fund is funding each of the projects.
Yeah.
So there is,
I think we do a pretty good job with
apparently
what little money
sufficient.
we have.
yeah.
And I,
One thing I should note is that the demise of redevelopment was devastating, obviously. But now the tax increment, where there's no more tax increment, but what used to be the tax increment is now being divided up among all the taxing entities. Well, the city of Emeryville is one of those taxing entities. So we do get a chunk of money out of the property tax that we didn't used to get. The redevelopment agency used to get the whole thing, and now the city will get a smaller amount. But that is additional revenue for our general fund. And that, I believe the council's passed a policy that that would all be used for, or the vast majority of it will be used for capital improvements.
yeah, when you look at, we've lost half or more than half of what we had during the last time, and what we're still able to accomplish. It's really cool.
I have a few questions. You mentioned the project identification process. What is the process for identifying the projects that are included in the capital improvements?
I'm going to refer this to somebody else because I'm not involved in this process.
Well, actually, that's a good lead-in.
Some of these I've seen.
There was a community workshop about it here in the council chambers a month or two ago. There were a lot of good comments made at that workshop. I don't recall that any projects were added to the list as a result of that, but people did say what their priorities were. And then after that, a kind of a standardized staff report was prepared that was taken around to just about every city committee. And the various committees then weighed in on what they thought should be priorities or what should be included or whatever. And actually, the Planning Commission was never asked that specific question. You're being asked to make a determination of general plan conformity. However, if you have comments about the capital improvement program itself and what projects you think should or shouldn't be in it or what your priorities are, this would be a good opportunity for you to make those comments as well, and we'll pass those on to the council. Then, after the input from the committees and the commission's general plan consistency finding, it then will go to the full council for adoption. So there's been community meeting, there's been review by all the committees, there's the review by the Planning Commission, and that's how it's done. I mean, initially, it started with the city council at a study session, not with any list of projects in front of them at all, but just talking about what their priorities are, what kinds of projects should be included, such as, and one of their big priorities was fix it first. You know, fix the things that you've already got that need maintenance before you go out and build something new. And then, well, those priorities that Miru listed in her presentation, those were all established by the city council at a study session. And then the staff went back and basically we started, I believe, with the old capital improvement list and other projects that have come to light since then, and went through them all and said, well, which of these match the council priorities, and included those, and then shopped that list around to the various committees, and to you, and to the community, and then that's what will go back to council.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I was at a recent APA seminar where they sort of stressed the importance of the role of the Planning Commission in developing the capital improvements projects and agenda. And so I guess when I look through this list, there's some items in here that I don't, I'm not quite sure what they are. Things that jump out at me are the Hollis Street Fire Station, Station 35, it's a $4 million project. What exactly is that specific project?
That is the replacement of the existing fire station at 63rd, 62nd and Hollis, which used to be Fire Station 2, and now Fire Station 35, under Alameda County. That, some of you may recall, that new fire station was approved by the Planning Commission several years ago. And we thought we might be able to get a FEMA grant at that time, but then that apparently was not available, so we're keeping it in the capital improvement program list. It's probably unfunded, right?
Yes,
It is unfunded.
Yeah.
I'm
That
just
was
curious.
approved back in the redevelopment days, though, wasn't it?
I believe it was, but we weren't looking at redevelopment
Oh, you weren't?
funding
Oh,
for it, no.
I think it was improved during the, when the government kicked in money and for shovel-ready projects, and they were trying to get on that,
Right, there was a grant that I believe we were hoping would be
right? But
coming
we
again.
weren't shovel-ready, I
in-
don't think.
Well, maybe not, but we were hoping to apply for the grant the following year, and it turned out the grant was only available that 1 year.
Yeah.
So we couldn't then apply for it. But it's all designed, and it's, ready
It's
to
a
go.
nice building.
There's partial funding in here for it, it looks like.
One question, Charlie or Maru, there was talk about some funding for economic development, and I'm not able to see that. I'm looking through this real quick. But was there money set aside for the economic development? I couldn't find it at the bullet points.
Yeah, it's not in the CIP. It's not in the
I thought there
table.
was some funds, because I was asked, as the part of the Economic Development Advisory Committee, we were asked to come to the city council meeting and support that, but I don't see it on the list.
Only capital improvements.
But it was part of money to promote economic development in the city.
That's not a capital improvement, though.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe I won't come to the meeting then. Get off the hook.
I don't know what that would fall under.
Yeah, I couldn't find it either. Okay.
Well, I mean, there are some projects that I'd love to see happen, and I don't know, the best way to slip them into the fold, but,
Projects that are not on this list?
yes. And so that's,
Okay.
I guess, something that comes to mind for me. One thing that when I was selected as a planning commissioner, one of the items that I brought up that are it's important to me is some kind of street work that helps create a greater sense of identity for the city of Emeryville. And I feel that when you slip from Oakland or Berkeley into Emeryville, it's this, you don't know when you're going from one to the next. And I think in order to benefit us as a community, having a greater sense of identity can be really important. And one of the thoughts was, at least on the main thoroughfares and the main entrances into the city, creating some kind, whether it's through public art or a gateway or specific landscaping, to really create that sense of entry into Emeryville. I was recently in the town of Burlingame, and there's one of those old signs over the main entrance on one of the streets. It says Burlingame on it, and it's quaint, and it really gave it's like, wow, here I am. I'm in, I just got off the freeway, and now I'm in Burlingame. So, and I think of that when I come on Powell and cross San Pablo. I think of that when I'm on 40th as well, crossing San Pablo. I think of it when I'm on, 7th and veering over to Hollis. It's some kind of a program to actually increase that sense of entry at the main corridors into the town is something that I would like to see on the capital improvements, part of the capital improvements program. And then also trying to create a better pedestrian connection on Powell to the marina under the freeway, or how, I even saw that show up for some reason in the housing, it's in the housing element.
I think there's a whole committee.
What's that?
Is there a whole committee that's working on that in terms of that corridor?
Yeah, and I saw some things mentioned like capping the freeway and things that we obviously don't have the money to do, but figuring something out so that, it's obviously there have been improvements made, but to increase those improvements would be nice. those were just a couple items that I thought be nice
Well,
to see.
We can certainly pass those comments on to the city council.
Well, Charlie, would it be appropriate or inappropriate for, other than this meeting or during this meeting, that we get to review the capital improvement program like every other subcommittee does? I mean, other than just approving whether it's would it be proper for us to get a chance to give our official input?
Right, that's what I'm saying. You could, you can comment at this time, and we'll pass
Well, I
those
mean,
comments.
you had the Economic Development Advisory Committee, the Housing Committee, all had a meeting particularly generated just to give their input.
I see.
So would it be appropriate or possible for us? Because I would like that. It sounds like Commissioner Gunkel would like that, and I would think others would like the opportunity for us to really dig down into this and say, these are our suggestions of what we'd like to see. And I don't know if that's appropriate and why we don't do it or whatnot.
Sure. I mean, the CIP is scheduled to be considered by the city council on, I think it's June 3rd.
Yep.
So we've
Well, I'm
got-
thinking it might be too late this particular go-around, but maybe it's something we could add in for the next go-round. I don't know
Okay.
if the commission
Yeah,
feels like we could
that
get
certainly
in.
would be appropriate.
I mean,
We
this seems pretty set at this point in time. I don't know if we want to go and throw a wrench in the works right now.
As a general
can- Okay.
But as a general policy, that we become, given the opportunity to give our input like everyone else.
All right.
I
I
can
was going
think,
to say I could add it to your already lengthy April agenda. I'm sure you'd. Well,
I'm not suggesting that, so no one kill me on the way out.
I can think of several projects that are shown on the general plan land use map that I think should at least be included in here as unfunded projects. I'm thinking like the expansion of the Doyle Hollis Park. I know that's been somewhat contentious. But
Well, one thing that should be noted is that this CIP is for the next 5 years. So if it's not feasible to do a project within the next 5 years, then it wasn't included. So case in point, I don't think
Okay.
we're going to do that
Yeah.
in the next 5
okay,
years.
all right, then
Does that
Noted.
mean that this opportunity won't exist for 5 years?
Well, the idea is that it's a 5-year plan that gets updated every 2 years. So in theory, this should be happening again in 2 years. Actually, normally, the CIP is updated in the off years when the operating budget is not updated or done. And this year, as you probably know, we are doing our operating budget for the next 2 fiscal years and the CIP altogether. The main reason for that is that, as Miru noted, with the demise of redevelopment, we haven't done a CIP since 2011. So for the last 3 years, we've been pretty much operating without one. We had a CIP drafted and ready to move forward in 2011, but then the whole thing got put on hold when all the money went away. And it's taken us the last 3 years to kind of sort things out and let the dust settle. So that's why we're a little bit out of sync this time. So I'm thinking the city manager may want to go back to the alternating cycle, in which case this CIP would probably be 3 years, and then every 2 years after that. But normally it would be every 2 years to update the 5-year plan.
So what would happen if an opportunity presented itself for some sort of project that wasn't in the CIP? Would the CIP then have to be amended to allow that project to be funded within that time period, or how would that work exactly?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it's an actually a legal requirement. I believe things that are funded by the impact fees have to be in the capital improvement program. And the capital improvement program has to be found to be consistent with the general plan by the planning commission. But if there's some big project that comes along that's funded by a grant and we didn't have it in the CIP, you could probably still do it.
Yeah, and Charlie's right. I mean, that's more of a policy issue than a legal issue, unless you're dealing with the impact fees. But I believe that the council has the authority to certainly amend its CIP mid-cycle in a scenario like the one you just described.
When is the city council going to be reviewing?
June 3rd.
June 30th?
June 3rd,
June 3rd.
yes.
So do you mind passing on my,
No,
Fine.
certainly will.
and then will there be an opportunity at occasion also to speak to the city council. I guess,
Absolutely.
to champion a cause.
Sure.
So the commission does need to take action on this item?
We
It's
don't?
not an information item, you need to take an action?
Oh,
I would move,
so do we need to open the public, close the public hearing or not?
This isn't really a public hearing, but you can take public comment if anybody wants to speak.
So do we make a motion to approve?
I would
Yeah.
move to approve the attached resolution, including the 3 additional projects that were handed to us.
Second.
All in favor? Or are you going to take a roll call?
Whatever you like.
Aye.
That-
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Yeah.
opposed?
No.
So 7-0.
Motion passes.
Okay, with the
Do we have any-
understanding that we will pass on your comments to the council.
Thank you.
Any commissioners' comments?
Tonight.
None? Declare the meeting adjourned.